Hey guys, it's Miss Caceres again. So, once again, we're going to start with our heading. Remember to write your name, date, English class, Miss Caceres English class, grade and section. Leave space for your topic today. Your objective is to discuss info that can help other community members to overcome difficulties in life. And your I can statement is, I can understand the story. Remember, if you need time to copy that, you can always pause the video or come back later to it. All right, so we have Thank You, Ma'am, which is a story written by Langston Hughes. Background information on Langston Hughes. He was born in 1902 and passed away in 1967. He was raised by his grandmother in Lawrence, Kansas, and as a child he began a long life exploration of literature and blues music. He went to Columbia University in New York City and eventually was recognized for his talent for writing poems. He went on to write novels, short stories, and plays as well as poems. Hughes' work shows a special understanding of everyday people who may not be famous or rich, but whose lives are inspiring and valuable nonetheless. Prepare to compare. As you read, pay attention to how characters' traits affect events and influence, how conflicts are resolved. This will help you compare this short story with the news article, A Police Stop Changed This Teenager's Life, which would be the one we would be reading next week. And so it says, she was a large woman with a large purse that had everything in it but hammer and nails. It had a long strap, and she carried it slung across her shoulder. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and she was walking alone, when a boy ran up behind her and tried to snatch her purse. The strap broke with a single tug the boy gave it from behind. But the boy's weight and the weight of the purse combined caused him to lose his balance, so instead of taking a full blast as he had hoped, the boy fell on his back on the sidewalk and his legs flew up. The large woman simply turned around and kicked him right square in his blue jean sitter. Then she reached down, picked the boy up by his shirt front, and shook him until his teeth rattled. Analyze setting and conflict. Annotate. In your textbooks, annotate, review paragraph 1, and highlight evidence of the setting of the story. Once you're done with that, it's time to analyze, which you can do here on the book website. How does the setting influence the woman's external conflict with the boy? It practically is asking you how the setting influences the woman and the problem she's having with the boy. After that woman said, "Pick up my pocketbook, boy, and give it here," she still held him, but she bent down enough to permit him to stoop and pick up her purse. Then she said, "Now, ain't you ashamed of yourself?" Firmly gripped by his shirt front, the boy said, "Yes, ma'am." The woman said, "What did you want to do it for?" The boy said, "I didn't aim to." She said, "You lie." By the time 2 or 3 people passed and stopped and turned to look, and some stood watching. "If I had turned you loose, will you run?" asked the woman. "Yes, ma'am," said the boy. "Then I won't turn you loose," said the woman, and she did not release him. Analyze the character. Annotate. In paragraphs 1 to 11, highlight the text details that show that Mrs. Jones is a strong person. Remember, you have to do this in your textbook. Then you're going to interpret and write your answer here for the following question. What character qualities do these text details tell readers about Mrs. Jones? Remember, we went over character qualities, so this should be easy for you guys. Let's continue with the story. "I'm very sorry, lady. I'm sorry," whispered the boy. "Uh-huh. And your face is dirty. I got a great mind to wash your face for you." "Ain't you got nobody home to tell you to wash your face?" "No, ma'am," said the boy. "Then it will get washed this evening." And the large woman starting up the street, dragging the frightened boy behind her. He looked as if he were 14 or 15, frail and willow-wild, in tennis shoes and blue jeans. The woman said, "You ought to be my son. I'd teach you right from wrong. Least I can do right now is to wash your face. Are you hungry?" "No, ma'am," said the being dragged boy. "I just want you to turn me loose." Was I bothering you when I turned that corner?" asked the woman. "No, ma'am," said the boy. "But you put yourself in contact with me," said the woman. "And if you think that contact is not going to last a while, you got another thing coming. When I get through with you, sir, you are going to remember Mrs. Lula Bates Washington Jones." Analyze the character. Annotate in your textbooks. Review paragraphs 15 to 21 and highlight the evidence that Mrs. Jones is explaining how Roger should behave with people. Once you've done that, it's time to analyze. How have the characters' words and actions and interactions with each other so far affected the events in the story. It's basically asking you that the things they've said and done and the way they've acted around each other, how does it affect the events that happen in the story? Like, because, for example, if the two of them are arguing at the beginning, how is it shown in the story? Would the events be the same with other characters? Write your answer here. Then we have the language conventions. Capitalization is useful in distinguishing titles and people. It can also be used for emphasis. Highlight the capital letters in the woman's name in paragraph 21, which is the last line. And then infer. What is the author emphasizing by having the character state her entire name? I'll give you a hint. Remember when you were younger and your mom would say your complete name? There's a reason for that. All right. Paragraph 22. Sweat popped out of the boy's face and he began to struggle. Mrs. Jones stopped, jerked him around in front of her, put a half Nelson about his neck, and continued to drag him up the street. When she got to her door, she dragged the boy inside, down a hall, into a large kitchenette, furnished room at the rear of the house. She switched on the light and left the door open. The boy could hear other roomers laughing and talking in the large house. Some of their doors were open too, so he knew he and the woman were not alone. The woman still had him by the neck in the middle of her room. She said, "What is your name?" "Roger," answered the boy. "Then, Roger, you go to the sink and wash your face," said the woman, whereupon she turned him loose at last. Roger looked at the door, looked at the woman, looked at the door, and went to the sink. Analyze setting and conflict. Annotate in your textbooks. Review paragraph 25 and highlight the text that shows that Roger is conflicted about how to behave with Mrs. Jones in this unfamiliar place. And once you've done that, infer. What does Roger's decision tell you about his internal conflict and his relationship with adults? And type it up right here once you have that. Paragraph 26. "Let the water run until it gets warm," she said. "Here's a clean towel." "You going to take me to jail?" asked the boy, bending over the sink. "Not with that face. I would not take you nowhere," said the woman. "Here I am trying to get home to cook me a bite to eat, and you snatch my pocketbook? Maybe you ain't been to your supper either, late as it be, have you?" "There's nobody home at my house," said the boy. "Then we'll eat," said the woman. "I believe you're hungry, or been hungry, to try to snatch my pocketbook." "I wanted a pair of blue suede shoes, like the ones you guys see here in the image," said the boy. "Well, you didn't have to snatch my pocketbook to get some suede shoes," said Mrs. Lula Bates Washington Jones. "You could have asked me." "Ma'am?" The water dripping from his face, the boy looked at her. There was a long pause, a very long pause. After he had dried his face and not knowing what else to do, dried it again, the boy turned around wondering what next. The door was open. He could make a dash for it down the hall. He could run, 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 run. The woman was sitting on the daybed. After a while she said, "I were young once, and I wanted things I could not get." Time to analyze the character again. Annotate in your textbooks on paragraph 32 to 35. Highlight the text that shows that Roger is unsure about what to do and confused by Mrs. Jones' behavior toward him. Once you're done with that, it's time to type up an answer to draw a conclusion. Do Mrs. Jones's statements and actions cause Roger to think about what he has done? If this is true, why do you think that is? If it's not, then explain why not. Then we come to a memory moment. Remember, this is one of the signposts that we saw in one of the first stories. Notice and note. What is the woman telling the boy about her past? Analyze. How does this help you understand how the woman is treating the boy? Type out your answer once you have one. Paragraph 36. There was another long pause. The boy's mouth opened, then he frowned, but not knowing he frowned. The woman said, you thought I was going to say, but, didn't you? You thought I was going to say, but I didn't snatch people's pocketbooks. Well, I wasn't going to say that. Pause, silence. I have done things too which I would not tell you, son, neither tell God if he hadn't already know. So you sit down while I fix us something to eat. You might run that comb through your hair so you will look presentable. In the corner of the room behind the screen was a gas plate and an icebox. Mrs. Jones got up and went behind the screen. The woman did not watch the boy to see if he was going to run now, nor did she watch her purse, which she left on her daybed. But the boy took care to sit on the far side of the room where he thought she could easily see him out of the corner of her eye, if she wanted to. He did not trust the woman not to trust him, and he did not want to be mistrusted now. "Do you need somebody to go to the store?" asked the boy, "maybe to get some milk or something?" "Don't believe I do," said the woman, "unless you just want sweet milk yourself. I was going to make cocoa out of this canned milk I got here." "That'll be fine," said the boy. She heated some lima beans and ham she had in the icebox, made the cocoa, and set the table. The woman did not ask the boy anything about where he lived or his folks or anything else that would embarrass him. Instead, as they ate, she told him about her job in a hotel beauty shop that stayed open late, what the work was like, and how all kinds of women came in and out, blondes, redheads, and Spanish. Then she cut him a half of her 10-cent cake. "Eat some more, son," she said. When they were finished eating, she got up and said, "Now, here, take this $10 and buy yourself some blue suede shoes. And next time, do not make the mistake of latching onto my pocketbook nor nobody else's, because shoes come by devilish light that will burn your feet. I got to get my rest now, but I wish you would behave yourself, son, from here on in." She led him down the hall to the front of the door and opened it. "Good night. Behave yourself, boy," she said, looking out into the street. Again, it's time to analyze the character. In your textbooks, annotate in paragraphs 44 and 45, highlighting instances where Mrs. Jones gives Roger advice. Once you've done that, it's time to analyze. How do Mrs. Jones's advice and actions affect the resolution of the conflict? And once you've done that, we come to the end of the story. The boy wanted to say something else other than "Thank you, ma'am," to Mrs. Lula Bates Washington Jones. But he couldn't do so as he turned at the barren stoop and looked back at the large woman in the door. He barely managed to say "thank you" before she shut the door, and he never saw her again. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the story. The next time we see each other, we're going to be checking your answers for understanding and analyzing the text. Bye.